Imagine standing at the edge of an invisible river, one that flows not with water, but with meaning. A current that carries whispers from the universe itself, stitching together moments that seem random, yet hum with a hidden harmony. You felt it before, the eerie resonance of a song playing just as you think of a long-lost friend, the sudden appearance of a symbol that answers a question you've been holding in your heart, the uncanny timing of an event that feels too precise to be mere chance. These are not accidents. They are the language of the soul, speaking through the fabric of reality. This is synchronicity, not as a quirky coincidence, but as a sacred dialogue. A conversation between you and the cosmos, where signs, symbols, and serendipities are the vocabulary of something far more profound than everyday existence. Carl Jung, who first named this phenomenon, called it an acausal connecting principle, a bridge between the inner world of the psyche and the outer world of events. But what if we took it even deeper? What if synchronicity is not just a bridge, but a living, breathing soul language, a way the universe guides, reassures, and awakens us? Consider this. Every meaningful coincidence is a flicker of a larger intelligence at work. A butterfly lands on your hand at the exact moment you doubt your path. Could it be a nudge toward trust? A stranger speaks the words you needed to hear, as if plucked from your own thoughts. Might that be the universe whispering back to you? These moments are not passive, they are alive with intention. They are the way the unseen dimensions of existence reach through the veil to remind you, you are not separate from the whole, you are in conversation with it. Yet, we have been trained to dismiss these whispers as fantasy, to reduce the mystical to mere misfires of the brain. Neuroscience tells us pattern recognition is hardwired into our minds, but what if that wiring exists, not as a flaw, but as a doorway? Ancient traditions, from the shamans of the Amazon to the mystics of the Himalayas, have always known that the world speaks in symbols, in dreams, in the dance of chance and fate. They understood that synchronicity is the universe's way of bending time, folding space, to deliver a message meant just for you. So how do we begin to decipher this language? It starts with attention, with the willingness to see beyond the surface of things, to listen with more than just the ears. The soul does not shout. It murmurs in the spaces between breaths, in the flicker of déjà vu, in the recurring numbers on a clock that seem to follow you like a quiet chant. When you start to pay attention, the mundane becomes mystical. A street sign, a fragment of a conversation, the way the wind moves the leaves, all of it can become part of the dialogue if you are open to it. This is an invitation to step into a world where nothing is random, where every moment is ripe with meaning waiting to be unfolded, to recognize that synchronicity is not something that happens to you, but with you. You are both the student and the scribe, the question and the answer, the seeker and the sign. If this resonates with you, if you've ever felt the universe wink at you through the seemingly ordinary, then you're already speaking the language. Let's dive deeper. If this message stirs something within you, consider liking this video, leaving a comment with your own synchronistic experiences, and subscribing for more journeys into the hidden layers of reality. There is an old Hermetic axiom, as above, so below. A simple phrase, yet it holds the key to understanding synchronicity as more than chance, as a mirroring of inner and outer worlds, a reflection of the soul's hidden movements in the theater of daily life. To grasp this, we must first dismantle the illusion of separation, the belief that we are isolated observers in a random universe. Synchronicity dissolves that illusion, revealing instead a living web of connection, where every strand vibrates with intention. Modern physics has already begun to echo what mystics have always known, that at the deepest level, reality is not a collection of isolated objects, but a dynamic interplay of relationships. Quantum entanglement suggests that particles, once connected, remain in communication instantaneously, regardless of distance. What if synchronicity is the human experience of that same principle? Not particles, but moments entangled across time and space, resonating with the same unseen thread. And then there's the brain, our magnificent pattern-seeking instrument. Skeptics say synchronicity is merely the mind's tendency to impose meaning on chaos. But what if the opposite is true? What if the brain is tuned to recognize these alignments precisely because they are meaningful? Indigenous traditions speak of the dreaming mind, a state of perception where the boundaries between self and world soften, where signs and symbols rise like bubbles from the depths of a shared consciousness. Synchronicity, then, is not a glitch in perception, but a feature of it, an evolutionary gift meant to guide us toward deeper truths. Not all meaningful coincidences are the same. Some arrive as gentle reassurances, others as thunderous wake-up calls. If we listen closely, we can discern their distinct voices. The mirror synchronicity. This is the universe reflecting back to you what you most need to see. Think of the way a certain animal appears repeatedly in your path, or how a phrase from a book seems to speak directly to your current struggle. It's as if reality is holding up a mirror, saying, "Look, this is where you are. This is what you must recognize." The bridge synchronicity. These are the moments that connect seemingly unrelated events into a sudden, undeniable flow. You think of someone you haven't spoken to in years, and within hours, they message you. You contemplate a career shift, and then, by chance, you meet someone who opens the exact door you imagined. These synchronicities don't just reflect, they act, rearranging the path before you in real time. And the initiation synchronicity, the rarest and most potent kind. These are the encounters that shatter your old way of being, the collisions of fate that leave you forever changed. A stranger's words strike you like lightning, unlocking a buried memory. A near-miss accident forces you to reevaluate your entire life. These are not mere signs. They are invitations into a new layer of existence, coded in the language of the soul. And yet, there is a danger here. The mind, in its hunger for meaning, can twist synchronicity into obsession, into a paranoid search for signs in every passing cloud. This is not wisdom, but fear in disguise. True synchronicity does not chain you to omens, it liberates you into a deeper trust. It is not about controlling fate, but surrendering to a guidance far older than logic. The key is discernment, knowing when to lean into the mystery and when to release the need for it to mean anything at all. This is the great question. Are these signs from our higher selves? The whispers of ancestors? The nudges of a conscious universe? Perhaps all of them, and none of them exclusively. Synchronicity may be the way the whole communicates with its parts, not as a dictator, but as a collaborator, a co-creator in the unfolding story of our lives. So tell me, have you felt this? Have you sensed, even for a fleeting moment, that something vast and intelligent is speaking to you through the cracks of the ordinary? If so, then you are already fluent in the first words of this language. There is a story told by the Navajo, one of those ancient teachings wrapped in the husk of myth. The first people emerged from underground worlds, guided by signs, a whispering wind, the flight of birds, the sudden appearance of animals where none should be. These were not random encounters, but the land itself speaking, showing the way forward. This is the oldest understanding of synchronicity, not as a psychological curiosity, but as a living dialogue between the human soul and the intelligence of the cosmos. Across cultures, in the oldest stories we possess, there is this recurring thread. The universe speaks to those who know how to listen. Long before Carl Jung, the Shang dynasty of ancient China practiced divination by carving questions into ox bones and turtle shells, then heating them until they cracked. The fractures were not seen as random, but as sacred text, the ancestors and gods responding in a language of lines and fissures. The diviners were translators of synchronicity, reading meaning where others saw only chance. What does this tell us? That synchronicity is not a modern discovery, but an ancient art, one we have forgotten in our age of reason. The cracks in a bone, the fall of coins in the I Ching, the shapes of tea leaves at the bottom of a cup, these were all seen as part of a vast, responsive web. The universe was not silent, it answered. The Greeks had a concept, the daemon, not a demon in the modern sense, but a personal spirit, a fragment of the divine assigned to guide each soul through life. Socrates spoke of his daemon as a voice that warned him against missteps, not through words, but through a sudden knowing, a tightening in his chest when he was about to err. This is synchronicity as inner compass. Not all signs are external. Some rise from within the gut feeling that turns out to be right, the dream that foretells an event, the inexplicable pull toward or away from a person or place. The Greeks understood that the soul has its own navigation system if we learn to trust it. In medieval alchemy, there was a principle: what is below is like what is above, and what is above is like what is below. The alchemists believed in a universe so deeply interconnected that inner transformation could trigger outer signs, a feather falling at the right moment, a stranger speaking the exact words needed, the sudden appearance of a symbol in nature that mirrored the seeker's inner state. This is synchronicity at its most potent, not just as a signpost, but as confirmation that the inner and outer worlds are in dialogue. When the student is ready, the teacher appears, but sometimes the teacher is the world itself. Consider the strange case of author Philip K. Dick, who began experiencing synchronicities so intense he believed the universe was revealing hidden layers of reality to him. Numbers repeated, random radio broadcasts seemed to speak directly to his thoughts. A woman he met wore a pendant of the same obscure fish symbol he had just written about. For Dick, these were not coincidences, but clues, a cosmic game of hide and seek, where reality was both the hider and the seeker. His experiences mirror those of many who have brushed against the edges of the mystical. Synchronicity as a kind of narrative intelligence, a story being written in real time, with the self as both character and co-author. But not all synchronicities are benevolent. Jung himself warned of the danger of meaning too much, of seeing patterns where none exist, or worse, where they lead into paranoia or delusion. History is full of those who followed signs into ruin, mistaking obsession for guidance. The key, as always, is balance, to walk the line between wonder and discernment, to let synchronicity guide but never control. The universe speaks, yes, but it also respects free will. Here, then, is the deeper truth. Synchronicity is not just about noticing signs, it is about realizing that you are in a story, one far older and vaster than your individual life. The symbols, the chance encounters, the uncanny timings, they are the way the myth remembers you, the way the cosmos folds you into its narrative. So tell me, what is your myth? What symbols have followed you? What whispers have you heard in the cracks between moments? The mystic sees signs in the flight of birds. The scientist observes patterns in the chaos. But what about the rest of us? Those who move through the ordinary rhythms of daily life, between alarm clocks and grocery lists and the glow of screens. How do we translate the grand, cosmic whisper of synchronicity into something tangible? Something that breathes meaning into our commutes and coffee breaks? The answer lies not in escaping the mundane, but in seeing through it, recognizing that the sacred and the ordinary were never separate to begin with. Synchronicity is not reserved for mountaintop revelations. It thrives in subway stations and supermarket aisles, in the glance of a stranger or the song that shuffles on at just the right moment. The key is learning to participate in the dialogue. Synchronicity begins with a shift in perception, a willingness to step out of the rigid frame of cause and effect and into a world alive with conversation. Imagine your consciousness as a radio. Most of the time, we're tuned to one frequency, the station of schedules, obligations, and linear time. But beneath that static, other channels hum with hidden transmissions. To hear them, you don't need to abandon logic, just loosen its grip enough to allow for mystery. Start here. Assume nothing is meaningless. Not the stalled traffic that makes you late. What did you avoid by that delay? Not the book that falls off the shelf. What page lands face up? Not the overheard phrase that echoes your deepest question. This isn't about superstition. It's about engagement, a conscious choice to interact with reality as if it's listening. Ancient cultures trained their seers in symbolic literacy, the ability to read the world as a living text. You don't need to be a shaman to reclaim this skill. Begin with your personal lexicon. Recurring motifs, animals, numbers, names, dream symbols that bleed into waking life, and the echo effect, when a thought or phrase repeats in unexpected places. Keep a journal, not just of events, but of the texture of moments, the quality of light when a realization hits, the weather when a long-awaited answer arrives. Over time, your unique symbolic language will emerge. Some synchronicities are decorative, pleasant winks from the universe. Others are directional, demanding action. How to tell the difference? The body test, true guidance, carries a somatic signature. Chills, a sudden intake of breath, a visceral knowing. The persistence factor, when the same symbol or message appears across multiple unrelated contexts, pay attention. And the fear versus awe distinction. Compulsive sign chasing feels anxious. Genuine synchronicity leaves you awed but unburdened. That job offer that appears as you question your path, the chance meeting that unlocks a creative project, these are the moments when synchronicity moves from theory to leverage point. The universe provides the opening. You must choose to step through. People enter our lives with uncanny timing, some as teachers, some as mirrors, some as living manifestations of our unresolved wounds. Synchronicity governs this invisible choreography. When you encounter someone who seems to download exactly what you needed to hear, or when a conflict arises that perfectly exposes your hidden trigger, ask, what is this connection here to reveal? This awareness transforms relationships from random collisions into sacred assignments. Even brief encounters, the taxi driver who shares a life-changing perspective, the stranger in line whose t-shirt bears your personal mantra, become part of the dialogue. There will be times when the signs go quiet, the symbols stop speaking. The universe seems to have muted your frequency. This too is part of the process, the necessary void where raw faith replaces confirmations. These fallow periods aren't abandonment. They're invitations to internalize the guidance you've received, to live by the truths already revealed, rather than constantly seeking new ones. Imagine waking not to an alarm, but to the sound of rain, the same rain you dreamed about, falling in the same rhythm. Your morning coffee spills in the shape of a bird, reminding you of your grandmother's favorite omen. The podcast you randomly select features an interview about the very obscure topic you researched last night. On your walk, a child's balloon drifts by with a symbol you've been seeing for weeks. None of this is magic. It's simply what happens when you stop dismissing the whispers and start acknowledging them as part of a continuous, intelligent exchange. This is the practical magic of synchronicity, not as a parlor trick, but as a way of moving through the world. When you begin living this way, you'll notice doors open with less effort, solutions appear before problems fully form, and you develop a quiet confidence that you're exactly where you need to be, even when the path isn't clear. There is an old Sufi saying, "You are not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean in a drop." This is the final revelation of synchronicity, not merely that signs and wonders exist, but that you are an active participant in their creation. The universe is not speaking to you, but through you, with you, in a language older than words. We began this journey questioning whether coincidences carried meaning. Now we arrive at the deeper truth. Synchronicity is the grammar of a reality far more alive, more intelligent, and more intimately woven than we've been taught to believe. Those moments of eerie alignment when time folds, when symbols repeat, when a stranger's eyes seem to hold the answer to your unspoken prayer, these are not interruptions in the fabric of the ordinary. They are glimpses of the underlying pattern, the golden threads always present beneath the surface. What you focus on, you magnetize. This is not mystical speculation, but a fundamental law of perception. The more you honor synchronicities by noting them, valuing them, acting on their nudges, the more they multiply. Like a radio telescope fine-tuning its receiver, your consciousness becomes increasingly sensitive to the frequencies of meaning. Over time, you'll find you no longer look for signs. You live in conversation with them, moving through your days with the quiet certainty of a sailor reading stars. Synchronicity will ask something of you, not just your attention, but your trust. It will ask you to follow breadcrumbs when there's no visible trail, to act on hunches that defy logic, to release the need for guarantees. This is the sacred contract. The universe provides guidance, but you must supply the courage to heed it. Every time you honor that whisper, choosing the unfamiliar path because it feels right, speaking to the stranger who seems to glow with significance, you strengthen the connection. Ultimately, synchronicity dissolves the illusion of isolation. When you realize that a butterfly's flight can be a message, that a dream can alter your waking trajectory, that the right book always falls open to the right page, you can no longer pretend you're separate from the whole. You are the cosmos expressing itself as a human life, and the world is your constant collaborator. This realization carries profound responsibility. If everything is connected, then your thoughts, choices, and actions ripple through the web. The same intelligence that arranges meaningful coincidences is listening to your deepest intentions, not to punish or reward, but to meet you where you are. So here is the question, the true call to action beneath all calls. Are you willing to live as if the universe is alive, intelligent, and in communion with you? Not as a philosophical idea, but as a daily practice. To pause when the hair on your arm stands up, to follow the thread when odd connections appear, to sit quietly in the mystery when answers don't come, to recognize that there are no ordinary moments, only ones you haven't yet learned to read. If this journey has stirred something in you, if you've felt the resonance of truth in these words, then the next step is yours. Share your synchronicity stories in the comments. Let them serve as lighthouses for others on this path. Subscribe if you're ready to dive deeper into the mysteries of consciousness and connection. And most importantly, walk into your tomorrows with new eyes, knowing that reality is waiting to speak to you in a language only your soul fully understands. If you've ever felt the universe whisper to you through coincidence, let me know in the comments. And if you're ready for more explorations at the edge of consciousness, subscribe and hit the bell. The conversation is just beginning.